Well, welcome back to the process that we're going through to teach you all about Wall Street winning. So on this pillar number 3 is we're talking about trade making. Now, what does that mean? Well, you need to understand that there are a lot of opportunities of trading, call it investment vehicles in the stock market. And you've heard probably of Forex, you've heard of futures, you've heard of options, you've heard of mutual funds, etc. We are concentrating basically on stock options, and the reason for that is because over my years of experience, I've determined that it is better to buy something that has value and use that as a vehicle to generate income. There are a lot of opportunities, for example, in Forex or futures, where you buy something that basically the value disappears over time. So you have to be right 100% of the time to make any money, because if you're not, what you've invested in disappears very quickly. So you have to be very careful when you use those type of vehicles. They're used a lot by institutions, but they are trading them on almost a minute-by-minute basis. It's like day trading. They are watching what's happening in the marketplace so close, and they execute big volume orders, and they can take advantage of tenths of a cent. Now, it's very difficult for the average person to do that. You're not close enough to the market. We are milliseconds away, and that is money. And so we're really at a disadvantage. I've determined or discovered that the way to build a portfolio and allow it to generate income is to own good companies. And that's why we are on called the options market, where we're going to buy stock in a company, and then we're going to sell options on that stock. So we have a value that we know is going to be there. It may fluctuate up and down because the price changes every day, but it does have an underlying value. And we now own something, and it's not going to go to zero, basically overnight, where other types of contracts can disappear or go to zero very quickly. So when we buy an equity and sell an option, we're okay with that option basically, let's say, deteriorating time value, because that was the name of the game. That's what we're trying to do. We want to generate income from the option. And that's why it's so important to also understand is you make money by selling. There are a lot of examples out there where people said, well, if you bought Microsoft in 1986 when it went public, and you held on to 1,000 shares for the next 25 years, wow, you'd be a multimillionaire. But the problem is back then, 1,000 shares was, if you look at your asset value, may have been 80% of what you had. And you really can't wait that long to get a return. You can't, some people can, but most of us can't. We basically need to generate a return on a continuous basis. So this is why it's very important to understand that we are going to basically provide information to allow you to acquire an asset and then use that asset to generate basically a weekly return or monthly return by selling options on that asset. So we have value. We have something that is going to be allow you to do that on a continuous basis. Now, this is where it's important to now get an understanding of, call it the math and the science behind what we're doing. It's not rocket science on determining what return that you can get from any, call it asset and option. Where the science is in determining what asset to buy, what stock to buy. And we'll get into that in one of the other pillars. But the math behind the return is very straightforward. In you buy something, and if we buy something for $20, sell a call option for $1, our return is the dollar divided by 20. That is what we're getting by owning the stock at $20. They're willing to pay us $1 for the option, and I'm willing to sell it back to them for $20. I didn't make any money on the stock or appreciation. I made it on the option. And that is the goal, is to continually generate income from the options. And so what we're trying to do then is provide you with a vehicle in what we call done for you, where we are preparing a set of opportunities, putting them in front of you, and basically we're executing them. So now you can walk in our footsteps and follow the same path, do the exact same trade, get very close to the exact same return, and then follow the trade over time, okay, to see what happens and what your next step would be. So it's like, walking in our footsteps. You can walk along the beach and we have footprints. You're walking in our same steps and basically getting the same result. And the fact that we're having I'll call it a high win rate, a win rate of 90% or above, is extremely good. Okay, there's not a lot of people out there that are basically providing that type of information at that win rate. So if we can continue providing the information that gives you a high win rate, you have a high probability of success. So the key is, at this point in time, you need to start reviewing the done for you. You've had access or got access to the website, and start looking at the done for you trades. There are basically 3 tabs. One is the current opportunities, which are presented every weekend so that you can trade those on Monday. And then there are the trades open. Some trades may not have completed their cycle, so we show you exactly what the next trade is in each one of those. And then a whole series of trades completed. So it gives you a way to look at how we manage positions over time to give you that feeling that, what is the risk, okay? Sure, we might have had, a few losses, but you can look at how we did some exits, maybe on some bad opportunities that we got into. So there is a way to always try to mitigate the amount of loss, and you can see that in the trades completed. And that way you should get a much more comfort factor of taking on this opportunity and going forward to generate a significant return and income on a weekly and monthly basis.